Hello everyone, I hope you've had a good week. It's Sunday, it's time for another video already. This week has just flown by. Well, I've been trying to pack things here and there, and I'm going to show part of, I'll talk about that in a minute. But anyhow, so we've been busy this week working on our house and trying to find a place to stay and finding out school requirements and this whole 9 yards, everything going on. Well, Saturday was the day our house was being appraised. We've already had the inspection, and now we have the appraisal. Well, the appraisal happened on Saturday, which at first I wasn't quite sure if it was going to happen or not, because it was scheduled to be done at 1 o'clock. And it wasn't till 2 o'clock that he showed up, a little after 2. But he was a really nice fella, really professional. And well, except for our dogs. He's a dog lover, so he was petting our dogs and everything. And but that was nice. Made me feel comfortable, you know. And so he came, he did the appraisal, everything's done on that part. There's no need, like, all we do now is wait for the appraisal to come through and see if our house has appraised at the magic number. So we just have to wait and see. He was writing it up, and we should know about tomorrow or Tuesday what they say. So have an exciting week coming up. And but that's how it goes, right? Okay, well, and we should find out about Tuesday if we're moving into that community in Little Rock. So things are coming together, and it's going to come together, and it's going to happen quickly, because I'm finishing up my term at school, and we have Vacation Bible School coming up. Then we have our anniversary coming up, so then we move. It is a never-ending process. You just go with the flow. And so let's talk about moving first. Well, it looks like me and my wife, we are going to pack up this house. Me and my wife and our daughter, of course. We are going to pack up this house once again, get a U-Haul, and take it down across the country, because I called around to see about people moving us. Now I see why the companies I worked for always made you stay for a certain amount of time. Well, it's been a while, and I can tell it's been a while, because the estimates we were getting is like $6,500 to $8,500 just to move us. So it's like, we'll do it ourselves. Thank you. Unless God provides that money, then we'll do it. But might be one more big woo for us. But if it's God's will, everything will work out. So we're waiting on that. And so a lot of unanswered questions that'll be answered this week coming up. So next week's video should be really exciting. We'll have more information on what's going on and stuff. So, well, the story I want to tell you about today is when we left Arkansas. I say finally, but when we left Arkansas, we moved to Missouri. Remember I said about that, and we ended up in this small little house, and I'll tell you, it was ugly. It was a gray colorish, just in that woodchuck type siding, just ugly, absolutely ugly. but it was very well built. Like I think I already said, but just in case you didn't get just new to the channel, it was built after the World War II for veterans coming home. So it was very well built, very well built. But of course, like we were saying, it was way too small, half the size. We have a baby, so we don't need to be downsizing. And we do not have central air. Now, one thing, some advice, you ever move down south or out west, you need to have central air, okay? Because end of July, August time frame, you're going to have central air and it's going to be cranking and you're still going to get hot. So just remember that. So anyhow, moving on. So we moved into this house, and the house deal totally fell through. So we were trying to figure out what we were going to do from this point. And this was February. And we're looking at places and we just could not find something in our price range that we could move into. And so a gentleman at our church that we started going to, oh, by the way, this church, my father-in-law always told us, no matter where you move, always get into a church right away. Because if you wait, you're not going to get into a church. Well, we did. We went to this one church, and it was just it. It was the church. And they came the one night witnessing, and we were there, and they talked to us. The pastor did. Newly pastor. I mean, he had just become the senior pastor. And so we were involved in that church. Well, there was a gentleman that had a house on 2 acres of ground out in country sleeper area. It was called Sleeper. Because at one time they used to have sleeper cars for the railroad that would be there. Well, anyhow, so we go and look at this house, and it has no kitchen floor. I mean, he was in the process of putting a floor down, but at the time, when we first looked at it. But anyhow, what it turned out to happen is we rented the house on the condition that in a year we would purchase the house. So we said, okay, this is July. We move into the house. Once again, we move into a house that has no central air and no heating either. It only had a furnace, small furnace in the back room and a wall heater in the living room. And that's all the heat you had. So first year was an experience. Well, around August 5th of 2005, won't forget that. That is, okay, so we came to Missouri for my job, right? And what we did is we opened up an office in Fort Leonard Wood to work on books, on manuals for our field. Well, that was in February, and we were working on it, getting close to the deadline and everything. Well, then August 5th happened of 2005. Katrina, Hurricane Katrina came through and just decimated the coastline down there, and New Orleans was pretty much totally underwater. Well, our company sent down people to help with that, and we were sent down there. Oh my, I have never seen anything like that. At first, we lived in campers in Baton Rouge, which is 60 miles north, kind of north, yeah, up from New Orleans. Well, we would travel every day down to New Orleans, 12-hour shifts, but it was still under military control. So we had to go through the military to get into the operations center. We were working in the operations center, which was in the Hyatt Hotel at the time. Well, we got there beginning of September. We were there before my son's right after his 1 year, his first year birthday party. It wasn't long after that we went down there. And oh, it was just awful. We worked in the emergency operations center, and you didn't know which way to go because there were still parts underwater. They were still getting drained out. They were still finding people, rescuing people, and recovering people and items and things, and just a total mess, and lots of life lost. It just awful. Okay. I know that sounds strange today because we have so many disasters, natural disasters, but that was a major disaster, and the first one that I can remember as an adult. And oh my, but the people is what made it down there. Oh my goodness. Well, anyhow, back to the story. My son and my wife were living in Missouri while I was down there. Well, through the process, at first, it was just a dead city, nothing anywhere. It just looked like everyone got up and deserted it. No lights or anything. And matter of fact, we were told at one time that if you keep eye out for alligators and things just on the road as you're going down, because a lot of these things, a lot of animals got misplaced, displaced, or however you say it. I remember we were in the ballroom, and it was a lady that was in charge of utilities, I guess you could say, one area. And she came in, and she had all her work backed up on floppy disk and had them with her, because when she heard about the storm, she evacuated, but she made sure all her information was backed up and with her, which was the smartest thing that could have ever been done. She was a city worker. And I'll tell you, those people, that whole city, the people did not get the credit they deserve. There were so many heroic acts and everything. I'll tell you, this one lady, I won't use names, but we had, this was maybe around November time frame, I would say, of 2005. The fire chief came up to me and he said, there's going to be a lady that's going to come see you, and you'll know who she is, and you do whatever she tells you to do. I thought, okay, because that lady from the utilities, city department had already got on to me because I said New Orleans, and Well, let's get this straight. First off, it's pronounced New Orleans. I'm like, oh, New Orleans. She says, say that, New Orleans. I'm like, New Orleans. It took me, I was like, oh my. But then this lady, okay, so I'm supposed to see this lady. He says, she's going to come see me, and you do anything she tells you to do. I'm like, okay. Well, he said, you'll know who she is. And I'm like, okay. Well, this lady comes up, big red hat on, and I'm going to say her name is Thomas. I know her name, but I can't tell you her name. She said, I'm Mrs. Thomas, and I'm here, and you're going to get my schools back up and running. I'm like, schools? Okay. She was head of the school board. So she was, the school and helping getting the school back up. But she meant business. I'm telling you, these people never got the credit they deserve because they just put their heart and soul into this city. And that is what kept New Orleans going. I don't care what they say, what anyone says. You can dispute it with me as much as you want. But it was the city and the people that ran that city and lived in that city that brought that city back. Yeah, there was a lot of outsiders like me that were there working, but if it wasn't for them, the city would have never came back. But anyhow, moving on. That's another story of the day. So she wanted to get her school back up. Now this was a little later on. She was a spitfire, and I liked her. I don't even know if she's still around anymore, but because she was older anyhow. But she made the point. We were all sitting in a conference room, and they were doing their meeting, and they had at that time they were all living on a cruise ship to keep everything going. Okay, they didn't have their homes either, and they had a group there representing the homeless, and she was listening, and she just about had enough. And she said, if you're homeless right now, raise your hand. And like everyone's hand went up in the air. She says, I don't want to hear any more about this homeless. I'm like, okay. She's like, under normal situations, it would be different. But at this point, we're all homeless. And I thought, valid point. So, but that is my start in New Orleans. And I was there for 18 months. And I loved it there. I loved the people. And if I could have had a job there, we probably would have settled there. We just loved it there. And New Orleans is more than just the Ninth Ward. Not the Ninth Ward. Forgive me. They're wonderful people there. I think a lot about that area because that area really got destroyed, wiped off the map pretty much. And we'll go into that, another story about those dedicated people there. But Mardi Gras. Oh my goodness. Bourbon Street and all that right there. I can't remember. Oh my. But anyhow, that's only a small part of the city. City's huge. But anyhow, that's for another day. But I just thought I'd give you a little story of where I ended up and how I get back to Missouri twice. But right now, we're halfway through New Orleans. And I'll tell you, it was so neat to see a city that lost everything and came together young, old, poor, rich alike, to bring the city back. So, and they were even patient enough to deal with us outsiders who thought they knew everything, but we didn't. So, okay, until next week, have a good week. Bye.